we are going to see how we can move one step further with the Kafka cluster configuration. So in my previous video actually I showed like how we can configure the latest version of the Kafka in the AWS, and in the today's video actually we are going to move a step ahead and we are going to see how we can configure the Kafka cluster by using the Kraft mode. And apart from that, we are also going to see like how we can configure this cluster by using the multiple EC2 instances. So earlier we configured by using one single EC2 instances and running the zookeeper and the broker on the same machine, but now we are going to see how we are going to run it by using Kraft mode, and that too using the different EC2 instances together forming up the cluster. So the thing is that I'm just showing you a bit of the overview of the Kraft overview from the Confluent website, and where they have shown that now the new versions of the Kraft, that is the Docker versions that they are offering, they are now available for the production used. And now from now onward actually they are not supporting the, for the newer versions they are even not supporting the zookeeper mode. So from because the thing is that the whole that the idea of the introduction of the Kraft is because it offers lots and lots of advantages over zookeeper, but I will not go into the detail what it offers. The target is basically to see how we can configure by using Kraft mode in the AWS. So just a brief introduction like what the documentation says and what are the steps involved, and then we can quickly jump to the AWS to just start configuring the cluster. So for this we can see that this is basically an overview, that it's a Kraft is a consensus protocol that was introduced to remove Kafka's dependency on zookeeper. And this is bit of the architecture diagram like how it looks. And now just go a bit further and just see how to configure Kraft in production. And then there are bit details on what will be the hardware configurations, minimum like 4 GB RAM and uh, dedicated CPU cores, etc, etc. And let's move further a bit about like what are different roles or different processes that are they are available in the Kraft mode. So when you operate Apache Kafka in Kraft mode, you must set the process rules property. So we are going to see in a minute like how this property is managed, where it is set. And this is very important that this property specifies whether the server acts as a controller, broker, or both. So actually the thing is that in Kafka we can run a node either as a controller, either as a broker, or both. So on a higher level you should understand that this controller is more like a zookeeper node, which is basically maintaining the quorum, and it's handling the metadata of the whole cluster. And broker is basically, you already know that it's a node where it's an actual worker node where topics are maintained, created, and partitions are available. And the third option is to act the node both as a controller and broker, but this feature is still not production ready and it's only available for testing purpose. So today what we are going to see is we are going to use AWS EC2 instances, and we are going to launch three EC2 instances, and one instance will act as a controller, which is similar to zookeeper node, and other nodes will act as a other EC2 instances will act as a broker, and they will together form a cluster which will be operational. So let's quickly jump to the AWS console and start launching instances. So I will launch some instances. So let's move. I will keep everything default, just change the instance type to at least medium. Otherwise it will not work, because the minimum requirement is 4 gigs for 4 gigs of memory. And I will not select keep here, select security group is something. Okay, create a new security group. Don't allow anything in the security group for now. I will add the permissions later. So let's quickly launch this server and keep your name. Proceed without keep your. Okay, the instance is launched, and let me quickly name this as one controller node. And while it's running, let's configure the security for this while it's setting up the server. So I'm going to the security tab just to edit the security group. This is required for this demo. I want to open some ports. For the inbound rules, there are no inbound rules added. I will add it, and I will add a rule. And just for the demo purpose, actually I'm allowing all the traffic. And note that you should never ever do this in the organization or in the like wherever you are in the production, actually, because this is just for the demo purpose. I don't want to add rules for each and every custom ports that we want to open. But you can easily see that on which ports, TCP ports, the Kafka is brokers and controllers are working. Generally it's 9092, 9093, etc., and the ports of your choice, so that you can open in the inbound rule. For demo purpose, I am just allowing everything. So in this security group, we can see that we have added a rule that's accepting all the traffic, and this is associated with this EC2 instance that we have just created. And now just we will launch two more instances that I said earlier, and that will act as a broker. So now just quickly go to the medium, just without QLU pairs, and this time use the security group launch user 2 that we have used for the controller, which is allowing all the incoming traffic. It is created. Now let's go again here and mark this as second book and mark this as broker. Okay, and now just uh, I'm heading towards the launch of the last instance for this demo, which will act as a broker. Medium, and then we are again without key pair. Where is the security group? Launches are 2. We'll just launch the instance. Go to instances. So you can see that now 3 instances are launched, and one we will be using as a controller, similar to, you can relate it to a zookeeper node, and both of them as broker. And but the thing is that we'll be using the Kraft node. So let's connect to the controller first, and connect by using the console. And okay, so we are connected, and just I'm going to trigger some commands that are from the previous lecture. It's very easy. The thing is that here I'm just downloading the latest version of the Kafka 3.6, and I am just unarchiving the package to get the binaries, and then I am running a command to install the Java that is necessary, and then we are just going into the directory. So we are just I'm just going to trigger these 3 commands just to set up this cluster. Okay, so meanwhile it's performing these steps, let's do the same step for broker second and third also. So let's connect to broker second. Just simply paste the command, and now just again go back to the third broker, and connect. Okay, paste it. So it will be a bit difficult to visualize, I guess. Let me lower it a bit. Yeah, I think it will now fit into the screen. Yeah, so the idea is basically that this is my launch wizard, and I have connected to controller and broker nodes in the session. So this last one is the controller one, and this is the broker second, and this one is broker 3. So let's just go to the controller node, that is the first node that we have launched, and let's just ls. So we are inside the directory where we have just downloaded all the packages. You can see that is from here. Okay, so list of these are the contents of a normal package where we have all the configs, libraries, license, and documentation. So I will just quickly go to the config, and I will show you what all configs we have available in the Kraft mode. So I am in the Kraft directory, and this is basically I want to explain here before changing the configurations, because in the Kraft directory we have 3 different property files, and each of them has different purpose. So one is the broker one. If we want to make the node act as a broker, we will use this broker properties. If we want to act it as a controller, we will use controller. And then server will have is a combination of both of them, but it's not production ready, it's just for the testing purpose. So for now we will be using broker and controller. So this is the controller node I am configuring, so I will just quickly go and change the controller settings. So for the controller node we will just go into the file. So we see that this is a controller, it has a node ID, and this is actually the place where we want to I'll be making this change. So controller quorum voters is something that I have to change. I will be changing it from localhost to the actual public IP. So the thing is that controller is a node, and I have to access this node from the broker node, because broker nodes should be able to communicate with the controller nodes and should be able to communicate with each other by using the controller. So it's very important that the controller node is accessible to brokers, and to make this accessible to brokers I will be using the host name, the publicly available host name. So in AWS or in Azure you can easily find the host name of the node by going to the properties. You can see that this is the public IPv4 DNS. So you can use the IP also, so I prefer the DNS name, so I will just simply copy this name, and we are into this controller node only. So let's just go to the node. I'm just actually trying to verify that it's the same machine. So IP private IP is 237. Just I'm verifying if it's 237 or not before making changes. Okay, let me verify that. Okay, 237. So it's a broker, it's the same node. So but we will not use the this IP, we will use the public one, so that it's easily accessible from anywhere. So I will go to this node again, the session which is connected to the controller box. I will again just try to edit the properties. I will go to the quorum and voters, and one at the rate. I will just paste this. So earlier there was local host written there, and now I have just added this. So okay, I colon colon is misplaced, so it looks good now. It's one at the rate host name, and then the port. Node ID is one, and this is the node ID that should be here. If it's two, then it should be two here. So let no more changes. We are all set for this controller properties. We will just save this file. So we are good with the controller properties. We just changed the host name in this controller property so that this node could be reached by the brokers for making a connection and to communicate. And now we are just going to start the node in the by using the commands. So in my previous videos also I showed like we can just see the commands from here, like how we can quickly start the Kafka. So we have downloaded already the Kafka, we have unzipped it, and now we are just going to start the Kafka. So this is for the Kafka with Zookeeper. We will move to Kafka with Kraft, and the first command is basically very important: generate the cluster ID. And cluster ID is something that is unique for one particular cluster. So we'll just fire this command here. Okay, okay, we are not in the correct directory. Let me move one step, two step backs, because it's firing this command bin in Kafka storage.sh. Let me again paste this command. Okay, so what this command is doing is it's generating basically a random UUID, and it will act as a cluster ID to uniquely identify our cluster. So let's just see the value. Okay, so I for now actually I will just copy this value, because I will be using this value for the for in the broker nodes also, for to establish the communication. So so the node is the cluster ID is created. Let's move ahead with the second command. The second command is basically to format the directories. So we'll just simply run this command to format the directories by using this cluster ID. So I will go to the cluster controller node. I will just paste the command to. So note that in this command actually we are just simply formatting the log directories by using the Kafka cluster ID, the random ID that we created in the previous step. And instead of server.properties, here I will be using controller.properties, because we are setting this node to work as a controller node. So you get the message that it is successfully done. And now we will again go back and start the Kafka server. So this is the last command that we will be using here, and it's just to start this node. So again I will edit this command to work for the controller.properties, because we will be passing controller.properties as an argument to this script to start the server. And let's hope. Okay, so looks good. It is started. The controller is running. So we have set up the controller node correctly. We logged in into the box, and we fired all the commands that are available on the Kafka page to as a quick start guide, and but we edited this and we used it for the properties. Okay, hold on. Okay, so let's continue. So for the server dot properties, we have fired the command, and instead of server dot properties, we added the controller dot properties. Now we will do the same for the broker 2 and 3. Let's go to broker 2. Let's verify the machine. It's 5.6. This one is okay. This one is the machine. So let's check the properties again. Go to the config, go to the Kraft, and in over here we are now interested in the broker dot properties. So let's just we are in this file, that is broker dot properties, and now we are interested in this property that is called controller dot quorum dot voters. And in this property, actually we are going to add the details of the controller, so to establish the communication. So you understand that in the broker we have to add the property of the controller so that it is able to communicate with it and it's able to manage the cluster. So over here we are just going to add the host name of the controller instead of the local host. So I will just edit it. We will just remove the local host, and we will again go and check what's the host name. So let's go to the details, and in details we see this is the public DNS. This is what we added in the controller also, and now in the broker properties also we are going to add it. So we have added it here. That's which will act as a voter, and let's see if anything else we need to change. No, we rest of the things looks good. So we'll just save this file, we'll move out, and we are just going to follow next steps like run this command. So now this is very important step. We are not going to generate the cluster ID again, because this node is the part of the cluster that we have already set up. So one, the unique cluster ID will be used by all of the three nodes. So this cluster ID we have already generated, and we have stored it. So I will just use the same cluster ID. So let me copy this, and in this we are just not generating, we are just adding it, setting this value in the second node. So Kafka cluster ID equals Kafka cluster ID is set, and let's see. Okay, looks good. So this first step is complete. Now we will just run this command to format the log directories, and again we will just simply make a minor change. Instead of server we will use the broker. Okay, we are in this wrong directory, that's not taking. Let's go back 2 steps up, and now paste it again, and instead of server I will just use the broker dot properties and run it, and looks like it is correctly formatted. And now again we are just going to follow the third step, that is to run the broker. So just copy this, let's paste it here, this is broker. Okay, it is started. Okay, this looks good. It is started, and hopefully it has also joined correctly the controller node. It is registered. Okay, Kafka server started. Okay, this looks good. Let's move to the third instance now. So controller is set up, broker is set up, and now we are going to the next step, that is to set up the third broker node or the second broker node. So let's let's config Kraft broker, and again steps are simple. We are just simply going to replace the localhost with the controller node hostname, which is this one. Paste. Okay. Okay, yeah, one more change over here is the node ID. We are going to, for uniquely identifying the nodes, we will change it to 3, and then over here also again it needs to be 3, and now we'll just save it, and we'll again follow this step. Again we are not going to generate a new cluster ID because this broker node is again the part of same cluster. So I will just simply assign value. This is the cluster ID that we are going to keep common to establish communication, otherwise it will not work, it will give error. So cluster ID is set. Now we are good for the other commands. Again we are going to use the broker one. Okay, field roles contains broker role, node ID 3 must not be included in the set of voters, set 3. Okay, looks like we have made a small mistake. Let's again go to the config, Kraft broker config. Okay, so in this okay, go back. Okay, so this will remain 1 because this is not this one is basically the node ID of the controller node, and the controller node ID is 1, and that is what we have set up in both, so it will remain 1. Let's just save it. Let me try another time. Should be good. Okay, this looks good. Now just fire the last command, that is to start the node. Again from server to program. Okay, that looks good. Node 3 is started, and now our complete setup is ready. So this is the node 3, that is the broker node, and you can see that it is running as a broker. This is the second one, it's running as a broker, and this is the first one basically, that's running as a cluster. And now just to test this, that whether everything is working fine or not, so we will just connect with any broker in a separate session like this, and we will fire some commands. Okay, let's go to connect. Okay, let me maximize this. Let's go to connect. So we are now connected to broker 2, and we are just simply going to create the topic just to check if the cluster is set up correctly. So this is the command to create a topic, and let me copy this command. So okay, let's paste it. And one more thing that I'm going to do is that in order to make sure that my configurations are correct, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the additional partitions and replication. So let me add partitions. So you know that if we are running on the single machine, if we are not on the cluster mode, then actually we cannot make multiple partitions. It will give error. So I will, but here it should not, because we have multiple nodes, two brokers at least. So both the partitions and replication factor should work fine. Factor. This is basically to test that our broker is working, our cluster is set up correctly. So I am giving the replication factor of 4, which is incorrect. Let's see what happens, because our cluster don't have such nodes. So it's clearly saying that we are not able to replicate partition 4 times because only 2 brokers are registered. So now you can see that our cluster is set up correctly, because it is showing that we have 2 brokers registered and we are trying to create 4 replicas, which is not possible. So let's edit this number to 2, which should be good. Yeah, great. So our partitions are created successfully. And now just to verify, we will just run one more command. We will just describe whether the partitions are successfully created or not. So instead of this, we will just use describe. Okay, great. So it's showing that we have a topic. It has partitions, 4 partitions, and it's showing this nodes also, like this partition 0, partition 1 and partition 2 are on the node 3, whereas partition 0 and 3 are node 2. So this is, I think, that's all actually from this video. I know it's quite lengthy, but I wanted to show you each and every step that is required to configure the cluster in AWS. And now we are confident that we have successfully created this cluster, that is a multi-node cluster, by using the Kraft mode. I hope this video helps you. Let me know if what you think in comments. Thank you.